Welcome to Leaders and Learners. My name is Tanya McKenzie, and you can find me at the intersection of public relations and leadership. Join us as we talk to organizational leaders, elected officials, experts, authors, artists, and personalities, sharing their stories, talking about how they got to where they are and how they continue to learn and lead the way. So without further ado, welcome to Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. I got a special guest for you guys today, but I want to share something with you, and we're going to get right into it. So check this out. Let's see.
Way of the Cobra by Sean Kanan. This book is meant to inspire and motivate you from a layman's perspective. In no way should you replace your current mental health care, as I am not a mental health care professional. If you're suffering from depression and your depression leads you to misrepresent anything in the book to bolster any suicidal thoughts, please seek help immediately. Tell a family member or a friend, or talk to your doctor, or call a distress helpline, such as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 in the United States. And don't act on the thoughts. You'll be glad you didn't. I'll be glad you didn't. Dedication. I dedicate this book to you, my reader. You and I are cut from the same cloth. We are seekers, looking within ourselves to improve the world around us. Unafraid to accept our faults, we forge ahead along the path of self-improvement. To my wife, Michelle, you are my why. The magic which inspires, drives, and guides me to be my best. You are my everything. Thank you for my beautiful life.
Forward by Daryl Vidal. Ju Dan, 10th degree black belt, Kempo Karate, inventor of the crane kick. Have you always wanted to be stronger, more inspired, reduce your anxiety and confusion?
You know, I think that's enough of a teaser to let you know who my guest is, Mr. Sean Kanan. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm saying I've never had anybody play the disclaimer before as part of the book, but
There's a little bit of an accident, but okay, yeah. They get the point. I wanted to, when I listened to this, first of all, I was like, this guy has to have the most menacing but relaxing voice at the same time. I'm not exactly sure how that actually happens. And of course, then I start having flashbacks about the first time I saw Karate Kid. And I was like, oh my God, everything about you resonates with me, including the part about your wife. I've been married for 23 years. So, you know, absolutely. I'm a fan. And I don't fan out too much, but sir, I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. Talk to us a little bit about your career and how you got started.
Oh boy. So I got started when a friend of mine, we were about probably 15 years old. He said, I'm going to Pittsburgh. I'm going to this open call for models. And why don't you come with me? And I said, okay, all right, I'll come with you. And long story short, I wound up getting signed by the agency, and unfortunately he did not. And from there, I wound up doing some television commercials, which got me my SAG card. And I knew I wanted to be an actor. I knew I wanted to have a voice. I grew up in a small town, and I think when you grow up in a small town, you tend to look beyond your immediate horizon to the bigger world out there. And I moved out to Los Angeles in 1987 to finish my political science degree at UCLA, but really to start my acting career in earnest, which I did. And, you know, I knocked on a lot of doors, and I had a lot of doors closed in my face. And this has been a long process for me. But in retrospect, I always somewhat feel badly for people that are immediate successes, because I subscribe to what Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours that you have to put in to really master anything. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, 10,000 hours, that's so much. And then I started reflecting, and I was like, well, I've done probably 2,000 episodes of television. I've put my 10,000 hours in. My point is, when you get very successful right away and don't have the experience and kind of, making your bones and have the some of the rejection and the sacrifice that I think strengthens a person when they achieve success, I don't know that it's so easy to keep the success. And I've had a long journey, not all of it easy, but the things that seemed really difficult in the past are some of the things that I'm most appreciative of now.
So I had one of my sorority sisters, Vivica Fox, you might know of her, and Nikki Maru, and they have been doing a lot of independent work because when you have a long career, it seems that it does not always go smoothly. And these are people that, when it does not go smoothly, they start to pave their own path. Where have you found yourself having to pave your own path in this industry?
You are so spot on. First of all, I've always felt that, an acting career, much like any career, is a marathon, not a 50-yard dash. I created a show called Studio City, which is on Amazon Prime and Tubi and Roku. And we won 3 Emmys, including Outstanding Limited Series. And I created this because I was tired of waiting around for someone to hire me. And I'm a huge proponent of, what's that old saying about the elevator being broken and throwing rocks at the, it's like, don't, you know what I'm trying to say? Don't.
Yeah.
I think if you're dissatisfied or frustrated with where you are in your life, don't sink into victimhood, get proactive and figure out a way to forge your own destiny. And that's really the essence of what I've done with Studio City and with my books and everything else. And, acting is my first love. But as I've gotten older and gone down this road further, I've realized that it's only one conduit to being able to express myself and have a voice and connect with people. Now I do it through my one-on-one coaching, my speaking. I'm doing a TED talk in I think it's really important that people try their best to carve their own path, because otherwise you're always reliant on somebody else largely dictating what your destiny is going to be. And it's not very empowering.
Listening to you talk about your career and some of the hurdles that you've had to climb over, it takes me back to the part of your book where you initially start talking about suicidal ideations. I'm not saying that you have them, but I think at this point, many of us have had people in our lives that have. And the way you spoke about it sounded very familiar. Is that an experience that you can share with us?
Wow, it's interesting that you say that. Yeah, I've had experience with people close to me that have, chosen that very permanent solution to a temporary problem. Yeah, I have. And, I thought it was important that I'm giving a lot of advice in this book. And I wanted to clarify that, look, if you're somebody that's out there and you're hurting and you're suffering in silence, please seek help. And I just wanted to clarify that, my book is just one guy's opinion. I'm not a trained mental health professional. And I wanted to clarify that from the beginning. And, I think that we've come a long way in elevating the conversation about mental health to a place that it doesn't have to be a pariah and that it's in a closet of shame and embarrassment, but we've got a long way to go. But to answer your question, yeah, I've had probably in my life 3 or 4 people that have unfortunately ended their lives like that. And it's always sad and crushing and about a million other feelings.
Who do you talk to, who do you kind of bounce ideas off of when things are so convoluted in your own head? Because as someone as talented as you, multi-talented, I'm sure you always have ideas going on in your head. And then this one didn't work, so now I got to try something else. And now I'm
Yeah.
frustrated. Who is your person? Who is your bounce? The person you bounce all this off of, including your frustrations?
I would say largely my wife. I mean, she's my partner in everything, including my creative partner. And you know what? As I've gotten older, I've gotten much closer to God. I've had a much stronger spiritual relationship with the Almighty. And so, I start my day every day on my knees, thanking my Creator for living in a world of abundance and not scarcity. And the book that is the sequel to Way of the Cobra, called Welcome to the Kumite, the tagline for the book is conquering your greatest opponent. Well, of course, your greatest opponent is yourself. How do you do that? Well, you do that by experiencing a metaphoric death every day and being reborn as a better, stronger, kinder, more empathetic, wiser version of who you were the day before. And that's one of the things that, I pray for, to be in that constant loop of self-improvement and self-awareness. So maybe it sounds strange to some people, but I bounce some stuff off the big guy too, but mostly my wife.
Let me take that a little further, because what you said, I understand and I'm comfortable with, but in order to have a rebirth, you have to let go of a failure. You have to let go of everything. And there is a fear of letting go, even if what you're letting go is bad and it probably wasn't for you anyway. So what is your best advice to people that have a hard time letting go of the negative, letting go of anger, of frustration, of resentment? Because sometimes that's the only thing they have to hold on to.
Yeah. I have a really good answer for this, and it's a bit of a long one, so I'm going to try and consolidate it.
Okay.
What happens and what causes people suffering is attachment. Being attached to results, okay? And when those results don't manifest, it creates frustration and anger and resentment and all of those feelings. And people largely hang on to the stories that they create. Stories are the rationalizations, the excuses, the explanations that we attach to the different events in our life. And if you can resist the temptation to qualify events in a binary way, like this is good, this is bad, this is positive, this is negative, and just take them as they unfold, it's much easier to let things go. And I'll give you an example. About 20 some years ago, I was divorced, and at the time it was crushing. I mean, I saw it as a failure. It made me attach the story that maybe I was unlovable, which I know is kind of dramatic, but give me a break. I'm an actor. And had I known that divorce was going to free me up to meet my now wife, Michelle, who's my soulmate, she's my everything, I wouldn't have gotten so emotionally out of whack. I'm not saying that bad things don't happen to people and in the moment you're a victim. The decision to perpetuate victimhood is just that. It's a decision. It's a story that you're attaching. And I always reference, I say, look, let me tell you about a woman who desperately wanted to be in television, but she had a couple of strikes against her. She was born into abject poverty. She was sexually assaulted multiple times, unfortunately, frequently by family members, and she wasn't aesthetically what we might call ready for prime time. And she could have looked up at the heavens and said, "Why, Lord, this isn't fair." And instead, she chose to do something different. She chose to go out there and to create a multi-billion-dollar media empire. And if you haven't figured out who it is, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. So you want to talk about somebody who had it rough and decided she wasn't going to be a victim. You look at someone like Oprah Winfrey. And so I'm going to tell you one more thing. I have a client, and he had the terrible experience as an infant that his mother dropped him off at a hospital and left. And for a long time, he had the story that he attached, which was, I was so unlovable that even my own mother threw me away like a piece of garbage. And I said, you know what? If you choose to believe that story, there is ample evidence to support it. But I said, let me give you another story. How about even as a newborn, as an infant, your will to survive, your internal fortitude, strength, and character led you to overcome. And now as an adult, you're in a place where you're successful, you're happy, you're well adjusted. And so both stories are equally true. It's which one are you going to adopt? One that's disempowering or one that's empowering? And, having stories that are empowering makes all the difference. And if you have disempowering stories in your life, just reframe them. Now, I understand that sounds reductive, but even if you can't think of one, let's say that you were the victim of terrible abuse. If you say, you know what, I was a victim in the moment, but I'm a survivor. I'm strong today, and I'm getting stronger every day. If you attach that story and you say it 10 times a day, 10 times an hour until you believe it, you will have replaced something that has been holding you back one way or the other and swapped it out for something that is empowering. I'm going to tell you, if you'll indulge me, a really quick story. So there was a journalist, and she was writing a story about Skid Row in Los Angeles. And she was interviewing a guy that was a hope to die alcoholic, somebody we would all consider a bum. And she said, how is it that you wound up at this place in your life? And he said, well, I had an alcoholic father, drank a pint of whiskey every day, beat my mother, beat my twin brother, beat me, couldn't keep a job. How else would I have grown up? And she was so intrigued by this, the journalist tracked down his twin brother, and she got to the address, and she said, oh, this can't be right. Big, beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood. She knocks on the door, this very put together man that just vaguely resembles his twin brother on Skid Row answers. And he says, please come in. I want to introduce you to my family. I've been a doctor in this community for 35 years. And she said, how is it that you put together this beautiful life? And he said, well, I had a father who was an alcoholic, drank a pint of whiskey every day, beat me, beat my mother, beat my twin brother. How else would I have grown up? I've never touched alcohol. Two individuals with identical circumstances that changed the story. Each one created a different story, and it dramatically changed the trajectory of their life. And so I'm doing a TED Talk in October. And yeah, and that's largely the topic that I'm speaking about, is the power of stories in our lives, and how if you can basically, un-F yourself by getting rid of these stories, you clear the path to achieve goals. We all, especially in Western society, we get very caught up in creating goals for ourselves. We're very goal oriented. We want success. And when I was coaching my clients for a long time, I would do that. I would get them to identify the goals they want, come up with a plan of action, talk about possible obstacles, what's the jujitsu to circumvent the obstacles and get your goals. What I realized was, yeah, people would have success doing that, but wouldn't it be so much easier if I said, okay, look, what are the 2 or 3 stories that you have attached to your life that no matter what goal you're trying to get, these stories are an obstacle consistently. And no matter what goal you're trying to achieve, you're always bumping up against this story. And if you can reframe the stories and you can resolve them and come to make peace with them and get them out of your way, it's a much easier process to achieve any goal. So for the first couple of weeks of working with a lot of my clients, I concentrate on identifying the disempowering stories and getting them out of their lives, and then set the goals. And they have tremendous success.
You have such an authoritative voice. I'm sure they really feel like they don't have a choice but to do what you say to. Like, oh, this guy. But listen, I think what it comes down to, what I'm hearing from you too, is it's perspective. Mm-hmm. And it's perspective, and we are all a culmination of our life experiences. Absolutely. So for the people that have and struggle to find the positive perspective in the worst things they have gone through, what is your best advice to them other than call you and set up an appointment?
The first thing I would say is this: I do not want to sound glib or minimize anyone's pain. Okay. But what I would say is, if you're struggling to find a reason to make sense of it and a way to attach an empowering story, I would attach the story that I'm going to take my pain and my struggle and use it to help other people so that they can learn from it and avoid that themselves. And here's the thing: I'm a firm believer that the fastest way to get what you want out of life is to help other people achieve their goals with no subterfuge, with no ulterior motive, just because it's the right thing to do. And when you live your life that way, with character and in abundance and not scarcity, that someone else getting theirs does not diminish the possibility of my getting mine. Okay. And when you come from a place of abundance and trying to bring value to every interaction you have, even if it's just, smiling at the lady or guy putting your groceries in a bag at the grocery store saying, how you doing? You hanging in there? Just doing whatever you can to make anyone else's life just a little better, you will find out that builds self-esteem. The quickest way to elevate your self-esteem is by doing estimable acts. And I know it sounds like that's maybe woo-woo and whatever. I have seen it in my own life. And the more I do to help other people, it's kind of like, if you really think about it, it almost feels better giving someone a gift than getting it. And it's true. And if you can find value in that, your life will take on meaning and it will reduce and alleviate your pain.
I love that. Quick story. I am a gun violence survivor. It was with another young person. I was 5 and he was probably like 4. And some years later, I went to go find him. Actually, about 5 or 6 years ago, I went to go find him to see what his life turned out like. I'm 4 kids and married 23 years. And I am definitely living a life that most people would not assume I'd be living, and went to go find him. And he's actually doing life in prison for double or triple homicide at this point. So I've been spending a lot of time trying to understand how 2 kids can go through the same thing and completely turn out different. Like, I really want to have some dialogue to see where it went wrong or where there was no. And that's the other thing. It's like sometimes it's the community around you. And for me, I wanted to ask you so go back to your first wife and the divorce, and you let that go and you were able to move on. First of all, living in Southern California, being divorced and then trying to, not be single anymore is a challenge in itself. But a lot of people see divorce as failure. So talk me through that, and who is your supportive community? Because now it's your wife, but before that, what does your supportive community look like?
Well, I'm very close with my family, my parents. I'll tell you a story. So my wife got divorced and had 4 children, and her ex told her the story of, nobody's going to want you. You've got 4 kids. And I met her and knew I was going to marry her the minute I met her. And she tried to scare me away, telling me she had 4 kids. And I was like, I don't scare too easy. And we have a really terrific marriage. I think that you got to find people that are substantive, good, loving, emotionally evolved people. And if you can't find any in your circle, you need to change your circle. And you also, and this is difficult, you need to go to the cave sometimes. I call it the lone wolf, the lone wolf strategy. You need to go into the cave and work on yourself before you can go back out and assume, the position of being the head of the pack. And everything that you turn your back on for a little while, it's all going to be there when you go back. Let me tell you, they're still going to have happy hour TGI Fridays. They're still going to have clubs. They're still going to have all the crap that seems so important. But I'll tell you what, when you go into the cave and you come out 6 months later, unrecognizable in the sense that you're still you, but you're just the best version of you because you've done work on yourself, an interesting thing happens. You will lose some friends, because you will be reflecting back to them what is possible and what they're not doing. And some people will resent that and they can't stand the reflection. But conversely, you will also attract a much better group of people that will be supportive, not only of you, but of themselves, which those are the kind of people that you want to be around. There's a great quote by Joseph Campbell, and I live by this. He said, "The treasure that you seek exists in the cave that you fear to enter." And I believe that with every fiber of my being. You know, I just had 4 years of sobriety. And for the longest time, I was like, I just don't think I'm ever going to quit drinking. And I don't even know if I want to quit drinking. And, you know, and I attached all these stories to it that if I did, I was going to be less creative, more boring, blah, blah, blah. Life's going to be boring. My life is so phenomenal right now. But I had to go slay that dragon that was, you know, that was the treasure that I was afraid to, you know, seek in the cave. And I'll tell you, if you're dealing with something, whether it's weight loss or any kind of addictions or, you know, love addictions, things like that, if you can get through that, what is on the other side, I promise you, is a better life.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take you back again because you started talking about getting away from basically toxic people and people that don't really support you. I guess the problem with that is there are people that don't recognize what that is. One, two, sometimes that is family, and a lot of people have a problem detoxing, even from toxic family members. So, what is your for people that don't know what real love, real support, real friendship looks like, that have never really experienced that genuine affection and support from people? What then do you tell them? Because I literally know people that have been born and raised in toxemia and don't even know what that experience is to have selfless individuals love them.
Right. A lot of what I do when I coach is I have to, in a sense, become a bit of a parent because they've never been parented in a way where they feel self-worth and self-esteem. And so, you know, for instance, if I'm coaching a woman, I might be the first male that is interacting with her that's, you know, doesn't have an ulterior motive of trying to sleep with her or pursue her romantically, just showing her that there are good men out there that can give you positive feedback based on who you are. And in doing that, they learn to create their own sense of self-esteem. And effectively what they do is they learn to reparent themselves, which is very difficult. It's hard. You know, if you had parents that didn't give you the fundamentals at an early age to feel self-worth, you go out and you seek self-worth and feeling good through external things like food, sex, shopping, all things that are, I call it filling the hole, WHOLE. You're trying to feel whole. And the problem is you can't do that. And so what I talk about is trying to find the path to what I call meaningful happiness. And meaningful happiness is when you feel happy on the inside and you don't need something external to make you feel good about yourself. You can have a really shitty day, but you're still a happy person. It doesn't mean you're walking around like an idiot with a smile on your face. You can be frustrated. You can be mad at a situation, but you're not angry. It's a big difference between mad and angry. Angry is sort of a withering thing inside of you that distorts your view of everything around you. Mad is a response to situations that we all go through, frustration, things like that. And it's a process, you know. But I think I was lucky that I had my wife, but I had to do a lot of this work on my own and basically save myself. I mean, you know, I had a point in my life. Look, a lot of people might be looking at me right now going, to hell, this guy's got no problems. He's got a great head of hair, right? And he's on a soap opera and da-da-da-da. Let me tell you something. I was 50 pounds overweight. I was drinking. I had no prospects for work. And I was like, I am going to need to save myself because no one's going to do it. No more of this waiting for my ship to come in crap. I was going to build the damn shit. I just had to figure out how to do it, and I figured it out. And that's what I share with people in my books, and that's what I share with them in my coaching. And let me tell you what, I'm not a special snowflake. I mean, if I can do it, you can do it too. You know, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of getting honest with myself, and it was a lot of deciding what I really want as opposed to what I want right now. And taking what I want right now and realizing that that wasn't going to be what served me, and putting in some self-sacrifice and some work. And now, you know, I've kind of reached a place where, you know, I kind of feel like I live in a flow state. I mean, I just, you know, life is really good. And do I have difficult days? Of course I do. But my ability to handle them is so much, it's leveled up so much that a lot of the things that used to just throw me out of whack now just roll off me like, you know, water off a duck's butt.
That is proof that you have done the work. And I think a lot of people need to recognize that to get to that place, you have to do the work, or else you're going to be saddled with anger and resentment and all of those negative things. If you do the work, and Sean got me over here feeling like I need to go slay some dragons and some cave work, and then got the Cobra, and I'm just feeling like, well,
call me up, Tanya. I'm here for coaching.
I'm like, okay, get it all in.
You're a queen Cobra, Tanya. I could
Man, I could just talk to you and your stories for days, and I feel like I need to get in your business a little bit more. But I do want to talk about season 6 also, because it's going to be so exciting. Tell us about it, or tell us what you can.
Well, I mean, you know, the first 5 episodes are already out. You know, Cobra Kai was the #1 show in the world, and you know, I've got a really terrific part coming back as one of the senseis teaching the kids preparation for the Sekai Taikai, and you know, it was a tremendous experience. And I just got that really cool piece right behind me, which is my badass gi that I wore in the show and had it framed, and it is now one of my treasured possessions back there.
How did it feel being back with some of the old crew?
It was really amazing because I got the chance to re-meet Ralph as an adult, as a guy that's, you know, wasn't this 22-year-old brash kid, but was a, you know, a father and a husband. And he's a terrific guy. Billy's a terrific, I've known Billy for 40 years. Yuji Okamoto, who plays Chosen. I've known these guys for a really long time. And, you know, once you're part of the Karate Kid Cobra Kai, well, Karate Kid universe, you're part of a fraternity and I guess sorority, because there's women involved too. And even though you don't see each other for long periods of time, you've got this incredible experiential common denominator that, you know, there are not that many people that can claim that. And, you know, we just sort of looked at each other and go, God, can you believe this? 35 years later, we're playing these same characters. What a gift.
It is. And you don't look like it's been 35. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I was a fan of yours back at General Hospital. Okay. Loved me some General Hospital and Young and the Restless. Yeah. Do you miss anything about those shows back then? Like, there's a lot of people that have passed on, that are no longer there, that are doing other things. Like, how often do you reflect on your past career?
You know, I reflect on it from time to time because people bring it up. I mean, I'm on The Bold and the Beautiful. Next year will be my 25th year since I started. You know, I do still from time to time talk to people from General Hospital. I just a couple months ago did Maurice Bernard's show, State of Mind. You know, Steve Burton and I are cousins. You know, we have a bond that, you know, goes back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're cousins through marriage. You know, the Young and the Restless shoots on the other side of the hall from Bold and the Beautiful, so I get the chance to see a lot of those actors all the time when I'm basically at the office. So, you know,
soaps like I used to. I got kids, and they be mentioning and stuff. So
Yeah. I listen. I look back fondly on my past. I mean, sometimes as an actor, you know, when I see the evolution of who I am as an actor, um, I like to think I'm a more complete actor now than I was when I first started. But it's kind of how it is with everything, And so I don't look back on it with any kind of regret or remorse. I look back on it as that was a place in the journey, and look where it's brought me now. And I'm really blessed to have been a part of several really big things that had a wide appeal. I always joke, if I have one really great talent, it's grabbing onto coattails bigger than me. I mean, starting out, I got at General Hospital, which had an international fan base, and Karate Kid had an international fan base. It's not everybody gets that opportunity. And now Bold and the Beautiful, which is in over 40 countries. So there's something special about every job that I've had. And like I said, I live in gratitude and appreciation for all of it.
I love that. Okay, so one of the reasons I asked that is because now, obviously, things are different, and I wanted to get your take on, back then, if I didn't watch General Hospital when it was on, I just missed it, right? And now it's, if you haven't caught up on your Cobra Kai episodes, I can still go back and watch all 5. So the streaming world, that's what I wanted to get your take on. How watching TV and getting content is so much different than it used to be. Like, how are you looking at it as talent?
Oh, I think it's phenomenal. As a producer, there is an almost insatiable need for new content now. I mean, when I started acting, it was CBS, NBC, ABC, and then Fox, and then HBO. But I mean, if you wanted to watch a show, you wanted to watch Cheers, you were going to be in your living room at 8:00 on Thursday.
Exactly.
And now it's not only watch what you want, when you want, where you want, it's on what device you want. And I think it has, if you think about it, the quality of television has never been better. I mean, look at stuff like Game of Thrones and things like that. I mean, there are television shows that are so good because they have to be, because the competition's so fierce, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's an exciting time to be working in television and streaming. And, for like Studio City, my show that I created, I mean, it was a small show. It was independently financed. I don't think I would have been able to sell it to any of the networks, but getting it on Amazon Prime was a possibility. And so I think it's opened up the opportunity for lots of filmmakers and television content providers to have outlets that didn't exist previously.
Yeah. Thank you for leaning into that. Listen, I want the people to know how they can continue to follow, support your journey, get help if they need it, because I know a lot of y'all need it. And, all the good things. I'm so glad that you spent the time today, but let the people know how they can stay in touch with you.
I try and stay pretty accessible. I leave my DMs on Instagram. You can reach out to me at Sean.Kanan. You can go to wayofthecobra.com. And, you can tune in and watch Studio City on Tubi, Roku, Amazon Prime. You can watch me on The Bold and the Beautiful on CBS, or you can watch me on Cobra Kai on Netflix. And I just wanted to tell you, Tanya, one more thing. My wife is co-authoring the 3rd installment of the Way of the Cobra books, which is called Cobra Couples, and that's going to be October. Very excited.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
Finding the right one, finding the one, and having a healthy, fulfilling relationship. So with all the principles of Way of the Cobra.
I absolutely love all of this. Sean, again, I want to thank you for being here. Please keep in touch. And if there's anything...
I would love a chance to, meet you in person. You're just dynamic. I mean, you're fantastic.
I might make my way out to West Hollywood one day.
Make your way out to West Hollywood, my wife, and I'll take you out for dinner, all right?
I love it. Absolutely. Listen, take care of yourself. Take care of the shoulder. know that I'm a fan and you have friends here that definitely support you. So keep in touch and we will definitely keep up with you and your journey.
Thank you, Tom. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Hey, thanks for showing up to the podcast where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. When you get a sec, take a moment, leave a comment. What you think about today's episode? And share it with someone that you know could use the gems that were dropped today. Follow and subscribe. You don't want to miss who's coming up next. You never know who could show up here and what they could say. For your professional needs, marketing, PR, communications, and leadership, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Sand and Shores or hit us up at sandandshores.com. Again, thanks so much for showing up. We appreciate you and we'll see you soon.